And we're live.
Okay. Hello. Welcome. People at home and people in here, welcome to ASUWT's Town Hall for the quarter. Which form rules for this forum is just be civil. If we have to, we'll send you out. I forgot to bring the script. Sorry. Doing introductions, starting with myself. Hi, I'm Holly Wetzel. I'm the ASUWT president for this year. A lot of my role revolves around developing policy, developing proposals and comments regarding university policy, and serving as the official representative of ASUWT. I also oversee the ASUWT task forces that were formed this year. And then going down the line for our panel.
Hello, everybody. I'm Reese Ramirez. I was the legislative liaison this year for ASUWT, so I spent my quarter down in Olympia advocating for students, and I acted as the voting member for ASUWT in the WSA, which is the Washington Students Association as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jayana Estachio. I chair the Student Technology Fee Committee. Yep.
Hello, I'm Nora. I'm in charge of all the outreach efforts for ASUWT. I put on the events, and I also chair the RSO committee.
Hi everyone, my name is Kalea and I am the senator for the School of Nursing and Healthcare Leadership. My main job responsibilities involve bringing my students and my school student body's concerns, needs, and wants to ASUWT, and also serving as a member of the task force. I currently serve on the Health and Wellness Task Force.
Thank you for that, panelists. Before we get into the details of what ASUWT has done this quarter as well as this year, just for anyone who's in the room or watching the live stream at home who doesn't know what ASUWT is, Nora Duncan, Director of Outreach, will go over what is involved with ASUWT and what it is.
Yeah, so ASUWT is so much more than student government. We operate based on 4 different levels. So first, we have individual and campus. So we represent you. We have done initiatives such as the You Belong Here campaign, cause apartments, free Narcan distribution and training, and so much more. So we represent you individually and at a campus level. We also represent people at the local and state levels, so city and at the state levels. And the last one, we also have task forces. So currently we have the Health and Wellness Task Force that Kalea had mentioned. We have the Student Safety Task Force and the Food and Equity Task Force. So we gather data and then we take action based off of those.
Great. You guys are going to hear a little bit from me before we pass it on to the rest of the panel to talk about what they're covering and updating on, such as the Student Technology Fee Committee, as well as initiatives related to senators and our legislative priorities. So beginning first with updates related to the Health and Wellness Task Force. That is led by myself as well as other members of ASUWT, as well as volunteers, Kalea, Nora, Santino, Emmanuel, Jay, and Dalton. Dalton being our first ASUWT volunteer. Why are y'all laughing? The task force mission is to investigate and advocate for various aspects of campus life that affect student health and wellness, to become familiar with student health services on campus and potential barriers that may exist for expanding or enhancing these services, and to gather student input and use this information to create specific health and wellness initiatives. Now, earlier on this year, we had done a health and wellness survey, and this was to all students. This was to get a better idea on what that health and wellness task force should be focusing on for this year. And in that survey, we had learned that there are multiple health and wellness resources that students are wanting on campus, which the top 5 were nutrition counseling, massage services, a professional clothing closet, wellness weeks, as well as intramural sports. So what the task force has done since learning about all the things that students have been wanting on campus is, and this might be a little bit of a repeat based off of what we've talked about if you tuned into our last town hall, but Nutrition counseling, we had learned that this was already offered by the YMCA, and we're still exploring how this could be better advertised to students since it is an existing resource and how it could be held more often. Massage services was something that we internally in the task force thought, oh, that would be an interesting thing to have on campus. But we probably don't think it would be possible. Well, it turns out that the Tacoma Center YMCA offers massages. So the task force is still looking to see how the YMCA here can work with the YMCA down the road to get massage services for students, ideally at a free or reduced cost. And then the other one was more intramural sports. Again, this is offered by the YMCA as well as through our other RSO clubs, such as soccer club, basketball club, etc. So seeing how we can explore and better advertise these opportunities to students, expand those services, and see if we can partner with RSOs to aid in creating more opportunities for students in this regard. Next, we have the professional clothing closet, which the last time I had talked to you, around this time last quarter, we had sent a formal letter of endorsement to Student Affairs who had initially expressed that they wanted to partner to get a professional clothing closet up and running. And if you've followed or been in the loop regarding what ASUWT has been advocating for, the professional clothing closet has been something we've been trying to advocate for since pre-COVID. So with the student data, we were hoping that this was finally enough to get the ball rolling, and with what Student Affairs had told us, it seems like this would be possible. However, since sending this letter, we have learned that at this time, they cannot support the effort to develop the closet as it stands. So the Health and Wellness Task Force is trying to meet with different parties on campus, be it in Student Affairs or in other campus areas, to see if they would be able to fund this project, because there's clear student need going back well before pre-COVID, and especially in light of these survey results. So this is definitely a priority for ASUWT as well as the Health and Wellness Task Force. It's just a matter of determining how we can get it done, because it sounds like financial resources as well as staffing is the biggest concern. And on that note, this may mean that more student data is necessary. How this question was asked on the survey was, if this resource existed, would you use it? And that's where students had said, yes, we would use the professional clothing closet, or we would want to see a professional clothing closet. But we don't know if that is actual usage, or if students really need it, or if they want it. So really it's going to be determining in the next little bit here if we can get enough student data to see if this needs to be a priority for Student Affairs in the university in order to make this happen for students, despite those financial challenges. So in terms of what now and what's next for the Health and Wellness Task Force, we're just looking to wrap up the quarter. We're about 2 weeks out for the end of the quarter. So we're creating some transition documents so next year's group is set up for success with the knowledge gained this year. Some of us may be returning, some of us aren't, so we want to make sure whoever's in these seats this year or in future years has the knowledge of everything we have learned in order for them to be successful in future years. And on that note, sustainability. Sustainability is really important to us here at ASUWT, so we really want to make sure that all of the initiatives that we're advocating for continue on into the future. One thing that we can even see with the professional clothing closet was that student government administrations were doing a lot of the same work to continue the same advocacy. We don't want to do that. We want people, when they come into these roles, to pick up exactly where the last group left off and continue on. Realized that was kind of a speed run, but any questions? I'm really just letting the room sit so I can catch my breath.
Other questions that can come in online, or?
I don't know. No? Cool. All right. Speed run to the next task force, student safety. So this was led by Roland, and members Kate, Evan, and Emmanuel had sat on this task force. The mission that the task force had identified was that they would work with campus administration to explore late-night transportation options to students, track the flow of funds from student-oriented programs and fees to ensure that student fees are being spent mindfully, and further our event planning to include campus collaborations to further and well-inform students about the resources that could be offered. Now, in terms of what the task force ended up doing this year through the survey results, we had learned that students generally feel unsafe at night, which that's not a shocker for anyone who has a night class here. So what was done in light of these, a campus night walk was done towards late winter quarter. This was with campus administration to identify what dark spots existed on campus. And what was identified was Whitney parking lot, D Street, and the street from 17th to 21st, as well as a few other places where some dark spots that were identified, which in the case of Whitney parking lot, that was fixed within the next few weeks after it was identified. And that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for that night walk. So in regards to the other lighting, we met with a council member to discuss different solutions. They came in, I sat in this meeting and it was interesting. They came in with some different priorities, and I'd be interested to hear from some of the students in the room to see if they have some feelings on this. But they had wanted to know if, in addition to the lighting, if students felt unsafe with how fast people would drive on some of these streets around campus. In fact, if there needed to be any traffic calming measures in order to make students feel safe walking across these streets. So if people wanted to come up at Q&A to speak on that, that'd be appreciated. But there was a little bit of back and forth in that meeting because they were really interested in those traffic calming measures, but really bringing it back to the campus lighting, because that's the data we had, that's what we're able to best advocate for. So that's where we found that middle ground. So in terms of results, improved campus lighting starting fall quarter. So the email that we got earlier this month was that prior to the start of fall quarter, there will be, the city has committed to installing fixtures along Court D between South 17th and 21st Street before August 31st, which is before the start of fall quarter. So between Litney's parking lot getting lit up again and these lights being put in by the city, I would say that's a win-win. So Q&A on that, student safety. Or thoughts on the traffic calming measures too would be appreciated. Cool, hearing none. Food Equity Task Force. So this was composed of myself, Baruch, Cecia, Jason, and Isaiah. And the Food Equity Task Force mission was to destigmatize access to free food, create inter-community engagement with the pantry, student to student, cultivation of inter-community relations, resources, and sense of belonging, and educating students regarding free food equity resources through social media. What the task force ended up learning is that while we went in with a lot of those missions, some of that proved to be more difficult, but let's speak to the data. So I had shown this to you all last quarter with our town hall. This is regarding resource visibility and students actually going to use the resource. We had learned that roughly 40 to 45% of our students experience food insecurity, but far less than that actually go out and use the free food resources on campus. So that caused the task force to begin to think about what is causing students to not feel comfortable to go out and use those resources. And we looked at a lot of the student data for the food pantry, Nourish food truck, food cupboard, et cetera, to see where that may be. What we also saw was when asked, 57% of UW-Tacoma students experienced some amount of stigma with regards to accessing free food resources. And we also looked at the student experience using each of these resources, and they weren't all glowing reviews. So the task force worked with each of those entities who oversee the pantry, Nourish food truck, et cetera, to take into account the student feedback in order to make it work better for students. So in terms of what the task force has been doing, student input was clear with regarding to some recommendations. Some things work, some don't, and we have been in communications with various members of leadership in order to make things better. We also are working to see if we can increase visibility with associated departments to make the programs more visible. I know that the pantry now has an Instagram page, which is great. They post their hours, and that's more visible than it was earlier this quarter. or earlier this year rather. And we had also planned to do a destigmatization campaign. Now, in terms of what has actually been done, we made food insecurity a campus-wide priority. So if you've been around campus in some of the offices and even seen in some email communications that have been sent to your UW inbox, this is now a priority for the chancellor as well as other higher up campus entities. And this really came about after the data, really the voices of you as students, was presented at the chancellor's town hall earlier this quarter. So many departments from all across campus have gotten to be on board to address the food insecurity crisis, which is fantastic because we're all hungry college students, but it's, as much as that's a stereotype, our food insecurity rates are actually double compared to the national average. So when you consider that we're double the national average, it shows how much of a crisis it really is here. Additionally, due to your feedback as students for participating in these surveys, I can't emphasize that enough because all these changes would not have been done if it weren't for these surveys and you as students taking them. Changes are coming to the food pantry. Beginning July 1st, the pantry will now be under the ownership of Student Affairs to ensure that it better serves students. So that's an exciting change we'll begin to see. It won't happen overnight, but I'm hoping that with this change, we'll start to see more stocked pantry shelves as well as just better support for students. And then with regards to the destigmatization campaign, because of the work that the task force was doing to advocate for changes to the pantry in particular, a pause was put on the destigmatization campaign. However, after the chancellor's town hall, we had learned that there's a lot of campus partners who really want to work on this and put together, or really to assist in the destigmatization campaign. So if this is something that next year's task force members want to pick up, there are multiple campus partners readily available to help out with this effort. So in terms of what's next, same with the Health and Wellness Task Force, wrap up the quarter, creating transition documents so whoever's in these roles after us can pick up exactly where they left off, and then doing so in a sustainable way. So everything that we've done this year is not just a one-year effort, but continues on for the future generations of UW Tacoma students. Audience Q&A. There's a mic in the center, or mic there too.
Hello, hello. Testing. Nice. I had one question about the food equity stuff.
Yeah.
Are there any plans to like include certain groups of like people's way that that they can eat a certain amount of like certain types of food, like maybe vegan stuff, or like let's say for example Muslims, they can only be eating like halal meat, and I haven't really seen much halal meat. Well, recently I only saw like one ground beef, and that was like today, but that was the first time that they ever put it there. But that was the only one. That was the only type of permissible meat that I can eat there. So I was wondering if there's like any plans to like include that kind of support for us.
Absolutely. And what's great about this is a lot of students spoke up in the surveys saying, hey, the food I need in order to get by day to day isn't there. So a part of the move going from the people who previously ran the pantry to Student Affairs is to have more resources to better support the pantry year round. And that involves having halal food, more gluten-free options, just food options for everyone. I can't speak necessarily to any direct plans in terms of what they will do. However, they see the data. They're taking the data very seriously, especially now that food insecurity is an issue for students, and we want to make sure that the resources that we provide are accessible to all students, and that involves having culturally relevant foods for all students. So what I would say to that is hold us accountable. If you don't, when the pantry moves to Student Affairs, it will take some time for them to get up and running, but if it's middle of fall quarter and you're still not seeing what you need to see, come back to us and we will continue to advocate, because this is something we've heard through the student surveys and we want to make sure this happens.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll stop talking your ear off and go to Jay to talk about the Student Technology Fee Committee.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Jay. Just to recap, I chair the Student Technology Fee Committee, which is basically comprised of 8 voting members. And students pay a quarterly technology fee, and we disperse that across campus technology. So what have we been doing for the second half of the year is we've been dealing with something called annual allocations, which basically are proposals regarding the following academic year. So this year we had received around $600,000 for annual allocations when we had anticipated a budget of around $490K. After the committee had went through all of those proposals, we had ended up allotting around $507,000, resulting in a $14,000 deficit. We're in debt right now. So how the committee had allotted the money to these proposals was we had initially implemented a 20% reduction across all proposals, and then based on the priority of the proposals, we had fed money back into it or took money out of it. Things we had prioritized this year throughout proposals was student workers, existing technologies such as like laptop checkouts or like media equipment that you see here. And so since we are in debt, we had voted on 2 options, which STFC and Executive Board have passed. Is that option A was to use our reserve funds to fill the like $14,000, or we would have to take money out of more proposals, which we had chose that we would do the larger proposal that had contributed most of our budget, which was the IT trainees program, which is something we do not want to do, as that was our high priority to focus on this year. And so right now we're waiting to see if we are allowed to use our reserves. But along with that, we have implemented a fee increase from $42 quarterly to $44 quarterly, which has been approved by STFC and by ASUWT. We had done this because we had really struggled this year funding everything that was requested, and we weren't able to fund around like, what was it, like almost $100,000 or like $90,000 of student like resources that we use. And so we had increased the fee by $2 to help fund things in the future. But yeah, that's basically what we're working on, or what we have been working on. Pretty much done for the year. So yeah, some of the things that we did fund this year and in previous years is Handshake, IT student workers in the training program, Dubnet, laptop equipment checkout, charging stations, multimedia resources, and the makerspace. And unfortunately, a lot of these proposals had to get cut this year due to our budget deficit, but we did our best. Yeah, that's all I have. Any questions for me? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to outreach updates.
Yay. Okay, so again, I'm Nora. I'm the Director of Outreach. Next slide. So as Holly spoke about, from the Health and Wellness Survey data, we learned that students wanted Wellness Week, so we gave Students Wellness Week. So from May 6th to May 10th, we had a bunch of different activities throughout the week. Here are a few pictures from the events that we had. Top left was our Monday event. We had a wellness workshop in collaboration with Pause. So Shelly from Pause gave a presentation, and we went off the Husky Hendricks Wellness Wheel that talks about all the different aspects of wellness that we would like to educate the students about and let them know about what resources they have on campus. And then Tuesday, which was this picture bottom left, we had a field day. We had a bunch of fun games. We had caricature artists, some food, lots of fun stuff. It was a great day. And then the third day was Wednesday. We had our wellness fair, which was largely put on by Kalea. She may speak on it later, but as a quick overview, it was mostly organizations from inside UWT, and they talked about the different aspects of wellness that they touched upon, and students were able to go around and learn about the different resources on campus, plus I think one organization from outside of UWT. And then our fourth one was we had some therapy dogs on campus, which was so cute and fun, which is the top right picture, obviously. And then, as an added incentive, we had a ticket system. You can, next slide, yeah, you're okay. Next slide, no, not next slide. We had a ticket system. Anyway. So for all the events that students went to, they were able to get tickets, and that went toward a prize giveaway at the end of the week. So this was a picture from the prize giveaway. All the students that came, we had a full room, one of the biggest event turnouts I've seen at UWT. So it was really, really nice to just see students involved. And then also on the right is the wellness wheel that we have been going off of. Looking forward, I would like to see yearly wellness weeks if possible. I would love to incorporate more aspects of the Hendricks Wellness Wheel. I think we did a really good job with our wellness week, but we did have a feedback box, and we've been looking through the feedback, and we have learned a lot about how the wellness week went, and I will make sure to make note about all the things that we would like to see done differently in the future, such as collaborating with more organizations both inside and outside of UWT, and touching upon more of the aspects of wellness, possibly having multiple events on each day, just making it bigger and better and more informative for students. So that should be super great and exciting. And then next, all right, you have the clicker. Thanks, Jay. I also chair the RSO committee. It's fairly new. We started meeting either end of winter quarter, very end. So it's very, very new. We meet about once a month. It is myself and the two RSO coordinators with the CSI, Jeremy and Kylie. It's open to all of the RSOs on campus. Our student leaders are very, very active on campus, so their voices matter so much to us. And they are so valuable for the change that we want to make on campus. So the RSO committee is just a place where we can hear from our student leaders about their input and then incorporate their feedback into the changes that we make. As it is a fairly new committee, I'm focusing on really solidifying what we want the committee to look like next year, and that way we can just hit the ground running. Upcoming events, I keep forgetting. This Thursday we have a coffee meet and greet at Campfire at 1 p.m. If any of you want to go, you should definitely go. We'll have coffee. And then on Wednesday the 29th, we're also going to have a tabling event with some tie-dye. We're going to advertise ASUWT's hired positions. That way students can just get it on their radar and then apply once they're on Handshake, and we'll have our hired positions all set for next year. That way ASUWT can operate the best possible, and we'll have hopefully not a lag between our hired positions and when we get things started. And I think that's all I have to share. Does anybody have any questions? 3, 2, 1, no, awesome.
Awesome. Again, my name is Reese Ramirez. I was the legislative liaison this year for ASUWT, and I wanted to give a quick review of the legislative session this year down in Olympia. For some context, this was our first year participating in the legislative session since 2019 when we sent our last representative down there. So a lot of the experience was learning and kind of regaining some of that institutional knowledge so that ASUWT in the future can best know how to leverage the political capital and power that we have to assist student needs and initiatives here on campus. So Something that I learned very quickly down in Olympia was that you don't always get what you ask for. But that being said, at the end of the session, we had a lot of professional lobbyists and legislators telling us that we were more successful than a lot of other lobby groups this year, and that a lot of initiatives and bills got passed that cost a decent amount of money, which doesn't always happen for higher education. So there were some big wins that I wanted to highlight, including the Washington College Grant. So now students qualify for 6 years instead of just 5 for that. We secured funding for some more opioid overdose prevention programming and equipment for college campuses. Anybody on SNAP from 10th to 12th grade now automatically qualifies for the Washington College Grant full award. Students or anybody who doesn't have the correct, sorry, I'm trying to find the right words for this. The professional licensing 1889 is so that undocumented people can qualify for professional licensing regardless of their immigration status. And just a smaller one was now it is codified in law that veterans get early registration on college campuses. So those weren't all the initiatives that we worked on this year, but those were the ones that passed, and it really showed us that there are things that you can do at the state level too to advocate for students, which is really exciting. So looking forward into the future, we're going to want to continue to work with the WSA, which is the Washington Students Association. Being associated with them brings a lot of political capital. Some other campuses, like Central, was able to get funding for a multicultural center, and some other schools were able to secure provisos for student support services, mental health initiatives, and other types of programs like that. So continuing to work with the WSA is only going to expand our ability to access those state funds for college programs. We're also going to continue to work on the Washington College Grant. That's always the #1 priority of the organization, to expand financial aid. There are some schools that are going to be working on student worker unionization, specifically Western Washington and Central, and there's some interest at our campus to look into that as well. And as I mentioned before, there's a lot of UWT specific ask. For instance, a lot of people have highlighted the need for food and increased funding for food equity services, so that could be something to look forward to in the future. And overall, an important part of being involved at the state level is just continuing to show up and have a representative for UWT down there to remind the state legislature and our partners at the WSA and other higher education advocates that we are here and we have needs just like all the other larger campuses as well. Questions? If none, then we can move on to Senate.
Hello. Okay, it works. Hi everyone, my name is Kalea and I am the Senator for the School of Nursing and Healthcare Leadership, and today I will be talking about some of the events that I hosted this quarter, my Senate experience, and then things looking forward for the next term. And so I hosted 3 different events this quarter. The first one was the SNCL Celebration event. In autumn 2023, I gave out a survey to students from my school, and a lot of them said that they wanted more social events and abilities to connect more. And so I hosted the SNCL Celebration event that was meant as a networking event and also a social event, a networking event for students across the cohorts and across the majors in my school, and also a social event to celebrate graduating seniors and juniors that are moving up into their senior year. And so in the photo, you can see the dean of our school, Dr. David Reyes, give a speech. The second event I hosted this year as PATH president. PATH is an RSO on campus, and it is an RSO that hosts health and wellness related events. And so in conjunction with ASUWT, SVO, MAPT, and Pre-Medical Club on campus, we hosted the annual UWT blood drive. And so this year, we hosted the blood drive over 2 days. There were 41 appointments each day, and the blood drive was part of the Wellness Week, and as such, we had 82 appointments filled, so 100% appointment success rate, and in total, we collected 52 units of blood, and so I think this is one of the most successful blood drives in recent years here at UWT, and I think it really showed the powerful what we can do when ASUWT and RSOs collaborate. The last event I was in charge of was the ASUWT Wellness Fair. As Nora mentioned, we had, I believe, 13 tables at the fair, one community organization, and we estimated to have over 100 participants, which was great. In the future, we hope to have more community organizations at an event like this. And so looking forward into the next term, a lot of senators this year serve on task force, and while that is great to bring a lot of events and move campus initiatives for the entire student body, I felt like there was a lack of being able to give back to our respective schools. And so hopefully in the future, senators are able to get more involved in their respective schools, such as gathering data from their school-specific student body and to conduct school-wide initiatives and events that meet their student body's needs. Also, the Senate meetings are hosted each week throughout the quarter, and the public and students are able to come in and sit and listen and participate, and I really hope to see that in the next year there is an increase of public participation, so that way students are able to sit in and learn what is being discussed and also ensure that their voices are being heard at the table. And then finally, I hope that there's continued collaborations between senators and the executive board, just to have one unified student government, and also a lot of the events we hosted throughout this past school year and even this past quarter, such as the Wellness Fair, would not have been possible without these collaborations. Any questions? Okay. Wrap it up.
Before that, no, you're good. Before we wrap up, just opening the floor to a just more general Q&A if there was something that wasn't brought up that so anyone in the room wants to discuss. Yeah.
I meant to say this during my little spiel, but I guess it's not too late. If any of that sounded interesting, of being involved in politics and lobbying and advocating for students, or you know anybody that's interested in that, my position is going to be opening up for next year. And it's a really awesome way to get internship credits if you're involved in public policy or philosophy, politics, and economics, while also making a lot of like real professional connections with lobbyists, legislators, LAs, all that type of thing. So keep that in mind.
Reese, what cool professional connections have you or your colleagues down in Olympia made this year that you think would motivate a student to want to be involved as a legislative liaison next year or in the future?
I think it really depends on what people wanted to do. So I had my counterpart from UW Seattle was able to make a connection with a professional contract lobbyist and is beginning to work for her next year. Which is a really great step into the industry of lobbying if that's the type of thing that you want to do. But I also knew some people that were able to make connections with non-government agencies and work for nonprofits in the area, as well as I believe there's one person who's going to be interning at a congressional office in DC next year. So really it's like once you step into that world of politics, the doors open for any sort of opportunity in public service. So if that's something you're interested in, all industries.
Do you have to be nonpartisan? The question was, do you have to be nonpartisan, just for the stream?
No. You just have to want to advocate for higher education, and the idea is that it isn't necessarily a partisan cause. In this position, in this capacity, you're just advocating for the well-being of UWT students and Washington State students as a whole.
Any additional questions? Our mic runner is coming. No, it's okay.
Hey there, my name is Sean Schmidt. I'm the administrative support for a lot of the student leadership entities, including ASUWT, AFC, and STFC. I wanted to announce that there will be a spring forum for SAFC this Friday at 12:30 to 1:30 in Keystone. So there will be an email going out and probably some things online and all those social media necessities, but wanted to let this group know, as well as any of the audience, that they're welcome to attend. So, thank you.
Cool. And to expand on that too, if you're interested in where your student fees go, sort of like how Jay broke down regarding the Student Technology Fee Committee, I encourage you to go to that. The Services and Activities Fee pays for a lot of the services that you as students interact with here on campus. So if you want your voice to be heard on any of those fees or in where they go, that you should definitely go to that this Friday. But yeah, thank you for coming by. If you ever want to talk to us, all of us are accessible over email. We do have our weekly meetings. Exec board just changed. It's now every Friday in TPS 110 from 1:30 to 2:30. And then Senate is every Thursday in GWTP 320 during Husky Hour. I also want to just take a moment to say, everyone on this panel, as well as everyone who couldn't be here, who works in ASUWT, did an excellent job this year. A lot of the things that were announced and just said, especially with regards to task forces, would not have been done if it weren't for the tireless work that everyone on ASUWT has put in this year. So if you see anyone who has served on ASUWT this year, definitely give them a hand and say, good job. But cool, I guess that's a wrap.